Am I the asshole for not skipping my stepson's graduation even though his mom is threatening to make a scene? I, 30F, have been married to my husband, 41M, for 5 years now. His son, 17, is graduating high school next month. I met him when he was 11. I've never tried to be his mom and we took things slow, and over the years we've built a decent relationship. I help out where I can, mostly behind the scenes like rides, school stuff, dinner when he's over. He's casually called me his bonus mom a couple of times, which I took as a good sign. However, his mom, Jan, has never liked me. She's never been openly hostile but always cold and dismissive. I've never pushed her though. No drama, no trying to parent her kid, just tried to be supportive when he's with us. Anyway, he told us he wants me at his graduation. He said it directly and saved me a ticket. A week later, my husband gets a call from the school and apparently Jan emailed them and said only she and my husband would be attending and that I shouldn't be allowed because of family issues. We had no idea she did this. My husband called the school to clear it up, and when we asked her about it, she basically said I was overstepping and that graduation is for his real family. She told someone in the family that if I show up, she might leave or worse not let her son attend. Her son still wants me there. He even told his dad, don't let her ruin it. My husband fully supports me going. But now a couple of his relatives are telling me I should just stay home to avoid drama. Guess who called them about it? Face with rolling eyes. I get it's a sensitive day, but I'm not there to make a statement. I just want to show up, support him, and leave quietly like everyone else. Am I the asshole for insisting on going? Not the asshole. Your stepson wants you there. Go. Your husband should tell his busybody relatives to mind their own business. I'll bet your stepson's mom will be on here in a couple of years complaining that her son never visits her but always visits his dad, if she doesn't learn how to adult. Not the asshole. The kid literally asked you to be there and saved you a ticket, that's all that matters. Jan is being petty and controlling, and it's honestly messed up to use her son's graduation as a power play. You're not overstepping by showing up for a kid you've helped raise for years. You're not even trying to cause drama, you just want to be there to support him. If she makes a scene, that's on her, not you. The kid clearly wants you there, your husband supports it, so go and be there for him. Let Jan stew in her own bitterness if she wants to. Not the asshole, but your husband needs to talk to the school and/or a lawyer about protecting your stepson's graduation. Sounds like you may be dealing with mental illness here? Not the asshole. Jan is playing a dangerous game here. If she leaves the graduation or even prevents your stepson from going, he'll resent her. Is excluding you worth it to her? Go. Your stepson wants you there. He's the only one whose opinion matters. She's making too about herself instead of her son. Pathetic from someone who should just be supporting her kid. Not the asshole. Agree with the other not the asshole comments, but you might want to have a conversation with your stepson. Let him know you support him and want to be there for him, but want him to enjoy the day. Let him know that you won't be upset if he wants you to stay home. He might be in a bad spot, knowing his mom doesn't want stepmom there. Letting him know you prioritize his feelings over yours in this matter, and that while you want to be there you would understand if he wanted you to not be to avoid the drama. Truly loving him is to be willing to sacrifice your comfort to support him on his special day. Am I the asshole for not properly telling my acquaintance that the dish they ordered would be stinky? Recently I went out with a friend, A, and an acquaintance, A's friend who we'll call B, to eat Korean food. While my A and I are both Australians and B is from Ireland, I am half Korean ethnically, and a part of the reason why we were eating Korean was because my friend was curious and wanted me to give some recommendations for what he and B could try. Lol. I suppose that this was mentioned to B because while I was driving them to the restaurant he asked me when I had moved from Korea among other things, and when I explained to him that I grew up here and only had Korean heritage he made a comment about how I wasn't really Korean then and asked if I even knew anything about Korea. Since I was focused on driving I just said something about how I'd grown up with the culture, but I didn't really focus on it at the time. Anyways, when we arrived at the restaurant and read the menu I tried my best to give them some pointers and explain some Korean cultural stuff as well. Like why our chopsticks are metal. But eventually B settled on a dish called chunggukjang, which if you don't know is this soybean stew which is really stinky. Like, even my grandmother refuses to make it because she can't handle the stench. When I warned B that the smell might be too overpowering he asked if I had even eaten the dish before. So I explained that although I hadn't eaten it personally the stew was pretty notorious for its stench and that I wouldn't recommend it, especially for a Westerner like B. I guess the last part might have come off as pretentious. Because B made a comment about how I should stop acting Korean, and that he could handle it. I figured he wouldn't listen, so I was just like, don't say I didn't warn you, and shifted the conversation. Unsurprisingly, at least for me, he couldn't eat it at all and had to send it back and order something else. I won't lie, I was a bit amused, but I was also trying to avoid the stench lol, so I didn't say anything and tried to be polite for the rest of our meal. The mood was petty much spoiled though, and when we finished he said that he wanted to take the bus with it instead of being driven home by me, and we parted ways. After I got back home, A told me that although B was a bit of an arsehole, I should have been more assertive when explaining to B that he wouldn't like it, and that he might have thought I was egging him on. Also, apparently B is pissed off because he thinks that I was trying to bait him into eating chunggukjang and made him waste money at it. And that I was being petty after his comment about me not really being Korean. So should I have tried more harder to dissuade B from ordering the dish? Not the asshole. You literally warned him twice and he acted like a smug jerk both times. Like, what were you supposed to do? Wrestle the menu out of his hands? He already had a chip on his shoulder from the second he questioned your identity and clearly just didn't want to listen to someone he decided wasn't Korean enough. That's on him. Honestly, the audacity of trying to blame you for his fragile ego and bad decisions is kind of wild. He played the "I know better" game and lost. Not your fault. Not the asshole. As an Irish person, I can tell you if he acted like that here, everyone would laugh at him and call him an Egypt. He was being a completely arrogant awe and deserved his stinky stew. As Irish are used to people saying they're Irish and then explaining their great whatever lived in Ireland and asking if we grew up in a thatched cottage, so I'm not surprised he didn't believe you were Korean. Because you weren't born there, but he certainly let the side down with his attitude. Serves him right. Wait until his mother finds out, she'll be mortified. Not the asshole. What is this, year 10 lunchroom K-drama? Bloke ignored your warning, twice, just to play the big man, then kicked off when it blew up in his face. That's not baiting, that's just him not listening. Actions meet consequences. It's called accountability, not a stitch up. Maybe next time he'll listen instead of flexing his ego over fermented stew. Not the asshole. I hate that smell. It's god awful. My mom made it nearly every morning and I had to wake up to that smell. Your friend is an idiot. I took great joy in your story lol. You're not the asshole. Both A and B are a-hole. B for being an arrogant prick and he disrespect your background. A for not backing you up whilst blaming you. Everyone here are adults, who can make their decisions and you've given suggestions. Which was rudely ignored. I wouldn't take out again. Also, they were given free rides. I'd be so grateful. I'm just surprised the staff didn't give him a warning as well. I know Vietnamese places around me warn people that their scale for hotness is way different from the norm. Am I the asshole requesting a nurse not be part of my care? I am pregnant with my second baby and my OB-GYN I had been seeing for 8 years decided to become an on-call delivery doctor for a hospital. She was part of an office with multiple doctors, so I was able to transfer to the only other female OB-GYN at the practice. The problem is, a nurse for my new doctor is a close family friend and goes to my church, which is quite small. She attended me at my last appointment and took my baby's heartbeat. I didn't recognize her fully, but I made the connection later in the day. She met with my sister-in-law later that month and mentioned she knew the gender of my baby before any of us did, and that didn't sit quite right with me. It's my own fault for not recognizing her the first time, but would I be the asshole if I requested that another nurse would assist me during visits and possibly not have access to my file? By the way, her having access to my records would not be a deal breaker, but I do feel a bit uneasy since she unconsciously shared medical records information even if it was already known. Edit. It's been brought to my attention that there's a miscommunication on what the nurse said. The nurse did say my baby's gender, but it was after I had revealed the gender to family. It is mentioned that it changes the severity of the disclosure. Not the asshole. Did she actually tell them the gender? Honestly, you're underreacting. I'd be beyond pissed at that massive HIPAA violation. She met with my sister-in-law later that month and mentioned she knew the gender of my baby before any of us did. That's illegal. She isn't even supposed to say you're her patient. Not only would I request a different nurse, I'd report her to her boss. Not the asshole. She was unprofessional and unethical. You are right to be uncomfortable, especially with her seeing you in such a vulnerable, intimate position as labor. Imagine what she might spill to others. Talk to your doctor, be firm and say she violated your privacy. ETA. Spelling. Am I reading this right, in that she told your sister-in-law the gender of your child before you knew? Regardless, not the asshole, and you're well within your rights to say, someone else, not her. Not the asshole. So what that nurse did was actually a violation of HIPAA and patient protection, privacy. You should report her and file a complaint if you can. This is taught in the literal basics of nursing 101 that you aren't supposed to mention anything in a patient's file with anyone else other than the patient or those who you are working with on the same case. Get her OUTTTTTT. Not the asshole, but please report her. What she did was a serious violation of your medical privacy. Am I the asshole for siding with our daughter and telling my ex he has to make good on his promise? I, 36 female, co-parent Mila, 15 female, with my ex Leo, 34 male. We are civil to Mila, and only communicate via text. Since she was about 11, she has wanted to pierce her ears like a few of her friends have. My mom got my ears pierced when I was a toddler, so I was all for it, but Leo said no, and she had to be a bit older. Over Christmas, Mila was at Leo's, where she got him to promise that if she still wanted to pierce her ears after her birthday, he would take her to get her ears pierced. When he dropped off Mila, she excitedly told me that her dad had finally agreed. I think Leo was banking on Mila forgetting he had agreed, because she asked him to book the appointment for next weekend after her birthday, but she also wanted a helix piercing, and he called me to say he wanted me to say no. I told her that it was not fair of him to throw me under the bus or to back out, as he had promised her she could, and that I had agreed years ago she could, and it was now his problem to talk to her about it. Mila told me she had planned to go after school this week while she was with me, and I didn't tell Leo. Leo saw Mila's new piercings and blew up my phone that I didn't stop her or tell him, and I replied that it was important for him to show her that he would follow up on promises. Our custody agreement allows her to get piercings, and it is legal where we are for her to get them at 15. My sister said I was only harming my relationship with Leo, and this would just cause more problems later down the line. Not the asshole. Your daughter is 15, more than old enough to decide to get her ears pierced. It's weird that your ex feels so strongly about this, very weird. It sounds to me this is more of a control thing for him, both to control Mila and you. And why should his opinion take priority over yours? Just because he doesn't want her to do it doesn't mean it overrides your feelings on the decision. Who cares if he's upset? He isn't your husband. It's not your job to keep him happy or placated. Not the asshole. My parents are unfortunately still together, but my dad was like this when I was 16. He almost cried when I cut my hair, and as a 16-year-old girl it felt so weird my dad was that attached to my hair and how I looked. I'd keep an eye out to make sure daughter doesn't start to feel that way. Not the asshole. First, tell your sister it's not her concern how you and your ex are. Second, tell your ex he agreed and that's that. There is no law that says you have to let him rant at you over something that's done. Third, tell your daughter she should have told her dad, she is still a minor. Not the asshole. He should stop lying to your daughter. Not the asshole, your ex is a controlling idiot and a coward. Your sister is dumb for thinking that a relationship you only have to deal with for 3 more years is somehow important beyond taking care of your daughter. Not the asshole. In 3 years your relationship with Leo is null and void. Your daughter knowing she can rely on her parent is the better long-term plan.